My name is Patty Bernard. I'm a member of the Nevada Women's History Project. Today is Monday, September 17th. We are interviewing in Reno, Nevada, and I am interviewing Jenkins Moon from Reno, Nevada. This interview is being brought thanks to the generosity of the Roxie and Azad Joseph Foundation. Thank you so much for interviewing with us. We are so pleased to have you. And Jane, if you would talk a little bit about your early life, your schooling, how you met your husband, and how you came to Reno, Nevada.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was born in New York City in 1933. My mother and father, my mother's name is Beatrice Hodge. My father's John Jenkins. I went to school actually in Brooklyn because of the family situation we had, and I had to live in Brooklyn with a dear friend. And so I attended school there from kindergarten through high school, graduated from girls' high school in 1951. And not too long after that, I met my husband. I was introduced to him at church by his brother, and I teased him. I said, "You don't have a brother," because this young man was in uniform. And I said, you couldn't possibly have a brother. And he said yes. And we met and dated afterwards. And, well, the next thing we know, we got married. And being in the military, they transferred him to San Francisco. For some reason, he only had a short time to go, but they sent us to San Francisco. First time leaving my mom, 3,000 miles away. But we settled in San Francisco, and we just remained on the East Coast. We decided not to go back on the East Coast because he's from Savannah, he was from Savannah, Georgia. And so he really didn't want to go back and live in that area. So we stayed there. I had two daughters, Edith and Irene. They attended school up until high school, I believe. And then his job gave him a promotion to management position. So he moved with the new factory here in Reno to be manager.
What was this of?
Manager of a Swabacker Fry. It was a stationery company. Under the main company is Diamond International. You heard of the match company, yeah. And so he came here to manage the warehouse. And so it was quite an adjustment, to move from what we call big city to a little city. And then we settled in, and it wasn't hard. The girls adjusted very easily. They went to hug high, and they just got along beautifully. We did okay, It's different. It was different coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, and San Francisco being such a large city. It was quite an adjustment because the seeing in the surroundings, there were not as many African or black people in wherever you went, where you worked, wherever you went to the doctor's office. It's like you're only one, and you kind of begin to wonder how many other people are in the community. But gradually, when you go to church and things like that, you get to meet other black families and get to acclimated to the area, which didn't take us long to do, but it was new, it was different. My husband was already working because he was with this company. I had been working with a telephone company and doing telephone work for the city before we left San Francisco, city of San Francisco, because I started out a career in being a telephone operator and then just going on. And so when I came here, that was the first thing I thought of. I went to First National Bank, which was on First Street at that time in a nice big building, and I worked there for a time, and then I found the opening in the federal government for the General Services Administration, and I got hired there. So I worked there at least, I guess more than 10 years or 15 years. They closed the office. The government has a habit of doing things like that. And then I went on to do part-time work with the state. And finally, I ended up with a position at the computing services at the UNR. And I worked there for 10 years. So until I finally retired in 97.
What year did you move to Reno?
1969.
So you were right you're in the middle of the civil rights for Reno.
Yes, we were. We, of course, we were active in the community with the NAACP. We met Bertha Woodard, who was very active, involved then, and her and her husband both, because her husband passed not too long after we moved here. But they were active in the NAA, local chapter of NAACP, and we became very involved with that. My husband's position, even after he stopped being a manager at the Swabaka Fry, he went to work for the highway department as a civil rights officer for equal opportunity employment. So we were very involved with that type of activity because his job was to see and try to aid those that were trying to seek employment, promotions or whatever, and were being denied because of their race or whatever. Women, men and women of all nationalities were trying to advance, and they were having problems, and he worked very hard at that. At the highway first, the Department of Transportation, and then after about 9 years, driving to Carson City, he applied for a job with the Bureau of Land Management, with the government. So he got on for the same position, same type of work. So he was very involved in civil rights activities in both jobs, and which we really needed in this area. He helped a lot of young people become employed, not only for the highway, but in federal positions too.
As a newcomer to the area, and as you said, there were visibly fewer African Americans. Other than your church, what other ways did you find to meet people?
Well, mostly of the church. There were we even got involved with the Eastern Star. One time there was a group that was developing here. We were involved with them. Socially, whenever there were any activities, social activities, we would go meet people and go out like that. But basically that was it. It was just in the community, in the neighborhood, you met people or through church. And occasionally through, believe it or not, employment. Sometimes you'd meet other blacks that were employed.
And doing some little bit of research for you, you seem to be in many types of organizations. What other organizations were you involved in?
Well, I was in Seroptimus for a while. In fact, I think they wanted me to become president, and I found my employment was such that at the time I could not devote full time to that and work, because you required to be away from work and taking time off, and I couldn't do that. But I enjoyed working with them, Seroptimus. While we were members of the church, Second Baptist at that time, my husband developed a Boy Scout troop, and I became a den mother, to my surprise, because we had girls and I didn't have. So I was here to the den mother to these Webelos and young boys that were trying to be Boy Scouts. That was another activity, and then I, of course, became active. I was always active in NAACP, and I just didn't know her. A lady invited me to become a member of Negro Business and Professional Women, which I had not heard of. And I honestly had not heard of the organization. But she asked me to come in and take a position as a secretary, and I said, well, I guess I can. And that club was chartered in 1972 with her founding that group. And I've been a member ever since. I've held the position of president, secretary, treasurer. In fact, I just gave up that position about a year ago as treasurer, because off and on I ended up being treasurer. And so then I also was active in the organization has what we call a district office in San Francisco, all the clubs that are in the western area. And I became a governor, which that's the position is just like a president, a governor, and I was a secretary and active in that area. So I traveled with that group back east to visit other clubs and clubs in that area, in New York City and the South, the southern areas, Georgia, and we went to various areas to visit and take care of club business because I was a governor. I had to assist the clubs in this area. At the time we had, not very many, about 6 or 7 clubs, but things have dwindled. As time goes on, members become older and either stop being as active, and it is a little difficult to get some young women involved or active in the group because we try to help young women in the community, give scholarships, assist them with any educational needs they may have. And right now, it's been the last couple of years, it's been very difficult to get other young women involved because they, of course, have careers and are busy doing other things. But we're still trying to. We're still active and doing what we can.
You have a wonderful picture of your mother.
Yes.
Would you like to talk a little bit about your mom?
Well, I believe she was really such a glamorous lady, always dressed up, liked to wear the latest styles, and I thought she was beautiful myself. And this is one of many. I had several old ones, but I couldn't bring them all.
And this would be about what date?
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. In the mid-40s, maybe.
Mid-40s.
Uh-huh.
And then you brought a wonderful picture of...
Yeah, graduation, 1951 from Girls High.
And then you talked about your marriage.
Yes, we have.
And your husband was, I'm not sure that you mentioned his name.
Oh, William Nathaniel Moon. Yes. And this is one of the social events we went to during San Francisco. And we were active there in some of the local groups, mostly NAACP and church groups. So this is one of the affairs we went to. Do you believe that's the church we met at? My husband and I met there, and we decided we were visiting one Sunday, so we decided to take a picture of my mom and us. And he was still in uniform, so we took a picture there.
And this would be what date?
Well, probably late February 1952.
1952.
Uh-huh.
And the church was?
It was Wright's Chapel, a Methodist church. So,
in
Brooklyn, New York.
In Brooklyn, New York?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. February 2017.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah, 65 years.
And then you talked about your children. And you have some really interesting photographs of your 2 girls.
Yeah, 2 daughters dressed up, I guess. It looks like Easter Sunday, maybe. And so we have so many pictures. As you probably know, a family take pictures all the time. And it was hard to decide. So I said, well, I'm going to take one of them as little girls.
And then you have an interesting story about your daughter Edith.
Yeah, Edith, and well, both of them. Unfortunately, I misplaced Irene's, but they were taking music lessons, and there was an organization called, Edith, help me, Afraid of Youth in San Francisco. And they had this organization had all these young piano students that performed and practiced constantly. And the lady that was in charge, Patricia Scales, she wanted them to present them to the community. So she finally got an opportunity to take them to the Opera House to perform. And so this particular picture is taken when...
And can you pronounce the music teacher's name again?
Patricia Scales.
Patricia Scales.
Patience Scales, I'm sorry.
Patience
Scales, yeah.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. So she's had a beautiful group.
And your daughter's a little bit older.
Oh, yes. This is at a NAACP dinner that we took this picture. We were having, Irene, she likes to tease a lot, so she was teasing her sister. But that was NAACP. I think it was about 2016, this particular kind.
And a later picture of you and your husband, and I believe you were accepting an award
for the Sojourner Truth recipient for the Negro Business and Professional Women's Club. It is the highest award that they present to anyone that has been actively involved in the club.
And this is the actual award. Moving into Reno, and you had described that there were very few comparative African Americans in the local area. What were some of the challenges that people in the community had to face, and what you were working then to help alleviate?
Well, mostly employment. I think it was the basic thing. Get by word of mouth, you would tell someone about a position or job. And because my husband was in the type of position that he was, not right away, when he finally became the equal rights officer for the highway, we realized how difficult it was for so many young people to become employed in these particular agencies in different areas in the Reno area. They just did not have they were just not being hired. And my husband was very vocal about that in his position on his job. But in the community, in the community activities in NAACP, that was often talked about, what we could do in the community to help young people find meaningful employment. And occasionally, sometimes housing was another problem, not finding suitable housing. And so all of these things put together, we felt like we would do whatever we could to help wherever we could. And I feel like he did a good job on that, and I supported him in all of that.
And what were some of the activities that NAACP did to help promote this change?
Well, one thing, like I said, they were very vocal. And whenever this discussion or case came up, because people would file complaints when they had a problem with employment or housing or whatever it may be, the organization within this organization, they had committees that would go out and check on these things and get reports and find out what kind of legal assistance they could even give. Because legally, they didn't have an attorney within the organization, but sometimes in the community, somebody would be able to help them in order to get some kind of assistance to make it known that they were not appreciative of where they're being treated, and they wanted to be treated fairly.
What was the city's response? How did they help change some of the restrictive policies? Did you, as NAACP, address the city council and
yes.
City fathers?
Yes, we did. There were times that we would have, when issues would come up, when they would have meetings, town hall meetings, or hearings at the meetings, my husband especially, would go and speak, or we would be in attendance to let it be known that how we felt about a particular situation. So that's how we would approach the city in any problems that would come up. Now, this particular award is quite old, I think. 1977, NAACP, I got a citation for my activities in the NAACP, Reno Sparks. I had never heard of the organization, Negro Business and Professional Women. This organization was founded in 1935 in New York City because women of color they were professionals, some of them were doctors or lawyers, and they could not be a part of the white organization of women professionals. So they organized their own. So that's how Negro Business and Professional Women's Club became organized or started. And they branched out from New York to other areas, other cities, other states in the South, the Midwest, and to the Western coast. And so the purpose of that organization, as we state, is to benefit and support young women in the community through educational efforts and whatever they may need, and to encourage them to get an education and to improve, and especially if they wanted to go into business, because sometimes that would be an issue, you know. Well, I want to start a business, but I don't have the support, I don't have the wherewithal, I don't know how to begin. And these are things that we would have workshops and things to help young women, help women of all ages to develop themselves and improve themselves.
So you were actually in the role of mentors.
Yes, true.
You are obviously an activist. What motivates you? What keeps you moving?
I'm always looking for the best that others have to offer. I mean, I feel like I had a successful career. I can't say that I went for being a teacher or a lawyer or anything in that area. But what I did try to educate myself when I worked for the government. We had classes and we were taught to in communication skills. But once I even left there and went to work for the commuting services, I was interested in computers. And of course, I didn't know a thing about them. So I decided to go to school. And I went to TMC. I would work full-time and take classes every night for about 3 or 4 years there. Till finally I found out I had enough credits that I'm going to go and get my degree. And I kept on until I got my associate degree. So, those are the kinds of actions that we try to encourage young women to realize you don't have to stop and say, I can't do it. You can do it if you try. And with encouragement, you can do that. And that's why we would give scholarships to help a lot of these young women with finances to go to school. Even if it was a book scholarship to help buy books, that was some assistance and encouragement for them.
Was education important in your home?
It was. I know when I was young and going to school, I wasn't a great thought for me. I just went to school. But when I got to high school, and I had some very dear friends, we all said, "Oh, we're gonna keep going." I had 100% perfect attendance in high school. I never missed a day. I really determined that I was going to go. I did not, at that time, when young women came out of high school, I would say during that time of progress, not necessarily all of them went to college. Everybody didn't go to college. They wanted to get a job.
Right.
And so that was the next thing, finding employment, and I found some employment there. It wasn't in the field. I did take accounting and bookkeeping, so I did find something in the bookkeeping area. So that was it. That was a help. But I realized that education is so important. Even if I got married and went to San Francisco, I went to San Francisco State at night a few times just to continue my education, to try to gain an insight on the things that I would possibly have to do or want to do later.
So you were really a model for your girls.
Yes, and they know that I went to school. I insisted that they do the same.
Were there any role models or people that really you felt were important in your life?
Well, I'm sure there are many. I know that in this area, when it came to being active and doing things to help others, I know when we came and met Bertha Woodard and her husband in NAACP, I've met other women that are active. I don't know if you know Ada Taylor. She was an instructor up at the university, and she even ran for public office at one time. I look now at Ada. I can't think of it. The young lady that's on the school board, Angie Taylor. She's a fine young woman, and that's the kind of thing you hope that others would be encouraged to do. I've always been a good friend of Lucille Aiden, and I admire her. I admire her enthusiasm and dedication to community. Yeah.
What about your early life? Did you have people that inspired you?
I may not have. I don't recall.
Your mom, or
yeah. Well, Mom was not active in community things. She had to work, so working was
a model for you.
Yes, she encouraged. She encouraged me to make sure that I stayed busy, went to school, stayed active in church activities, and she always encouraged me to do that in that way. So, and my aunt too. They were sisters. They lived together, and they both were. She was very very active in doing things. She was a seamstress. I was not a seamstress, but she loved to sew, so I picked up that habit from her. She liked loving to sew, and I made my daughter's clothes and mine when I first got married. So all those little things you look back on and you say, they were an encouragement to me, and I hope that was an encouragement to my husband and encouragement to my daughters, because some of the things that I've strived to do, they're trying, and they have done. So.
No, I know that you left the Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that and transferring, which seems a little unusual,
Mm-hmm.
to the Mormon
Yes,
church? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Interesting enough, the LDS Church has a program where they have young missionaries proselyting, going from door to door, trying to introduce people to the church, to learn more about it and to understand it. Well, that's what happened. One day, my husband was out mowing the lawn, doing yard work, and he came back in and he says, "Oh, there's two young men that came in, want to ask us to talk to us about church." Well, of course, my response was, "We already go to church. So why would we want to?" He said, "No, they have something very interesting they need to talk to us." And through their discussions, we found that, and we started visiting the church, and we became very interested in the organization of the church. It's a church organization. They're just different from the Baptist church. We have both been reared in black churches, Baptists and Methodists, all our lives. And so that was a major change, but it was a good change.
And your church members from the Baptist church,
Mm-hmm.
was there any friction or?
Never any friction. One of the members used to laugh, and she said, "That's okay, you're going to come back." You're going to come back. And we would just laugh with her, but no, we didn't go back. We've been members for 35 years. We were members for 35 years. We joined in 81, and we've been members ever since. I'm still active, and I've enjoyed my journey there. I've learned a lot, and I think I've drawn closer to Jesus Christ through their teachings.
What activities do you engage in?
They right now, like they give classes. They have classes going on like how personal finance, how to improve yourself. They have activities within the women's groups. They always have like you learn how to can, you do cooking, crafts, things like that, and even other types of classes that you can attend to improve yourself, improve your life, and develop religiously and otherwise.
So you have a closeness with members in the...
Oh, yes. I've met many people there and are friends with a lot of people and have had the respect and love of them all these years.
Were there any books or readings that were or are important to you?
Other than the scriptures, I'm not much of an avid reader like I should always wanted to be. I always said I want to sit down and read a book. And I think the biggest thing I've done in books is cook books. I love to cook, so that's one of the things. But occasionally I get a chance to read, but not often.
So you are an expert in cooking?
Oh, no, I don't consider myself an expert, but I can do okay. You won't starve.
So, transformative experiences. You've come a long way from New York.
Oh, yes.
What stands out in your mind as some major turning points in your life?
Well, number one, I think changing the area I lived in made a big difference. Big cities are fine, but a little hard to navigate through if you don't know someone or know how to get around and do things. I think that was a good change for me. My marriage when you're young, or 19, 18 years old, it's quite different. You're not thinking of the future the same way. And so now that I look back on it, it was a good change. Change to an area that I was not familiar with. I had never been to the West Coast, never been out of I don't think I even been out of the area of New York itself growing up, because occasionally we would go to in the South with families sometimes, but not that much traveling was done on my part, as I can recall. So the transformation to another area changed my thinking and outlook on life, because I realized how different it is, what you can achieve and what you can do, and how things are sometimes a little not as good as you want them to be, but they can be better, and you can work at that.
Did you see a difference between the acceptance of the African American community from the East Coast to New York to the San Francisco area? And we obviously know it was different in Reno.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was different, but the more things are different, the more they are the same. You know, because we were active in church there. We got along with members and friends and neighbors. So yes, it was different. And like I say, being a young person, married, you don't look at things the same way as you do as you mature. Right. So it was different. And I look back now that it was a good change. It was an interesting change for me. Oh, for us, I would say my husband too.
Obviously, along the life that you have lived, you've had some successes and maybe even a failure or two. What have you learned from your life lessons?
Oh, I guess it means to be dedicated, committed. If you want to do something, you have to really want to do it. Put your heart in it and really go for it. Sometimes we have ideas of what we think we want to do, and maybe that's not feasible or possible. I can't think of anything that I was aiming for to do or had any goals in life that I failed at, because I wasn't that type to go after too many things. And I think the main thing is that you dedicate or commit yourself to making the best life you can. And that's what we did, my husband and I. Try to make a good life for ourselves and our family.
So you might want to start, how would I like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? I hope I was kind, gentle, friendly, got along with everybody and didn't hurt anybody's feelings. Too bad. I think it being gracious and humble, and it's not. My husband often said, treat people the way you want them to treat you, and I try, and that's what I would like to.
And having two daughters, what message would you have for young girls starting out, even in school, and then facing the job opportunity, which is unlimited now, for young women as well as young men?
The message I have for young women and young men is to set some goals, but don't set them too high that you may not make it. Because I think that's where the disappointments comes in. They give up before they can get anywhere. So I think they have to be realistic in whatever plans they have in life, but be committed in doing it. I do believe that they will be successful if they put their mind to it in the right way. In other words, I'm saying that, again, don't set the goal too high, but aim for something really good that you like and you're going to benefit you and your family.
Thank you.
Really, I've just appreciated being able to express my thoughts. Really made me do some thinking. But yeah, I appreciate this.
Thank you very much for your time and your thoughts.
You're welcome.